Hi, everyone. I want to talk to you today about a mystery in one of my favorite long poems. It's the character of Satan. And this has been talked about before. There's been many people who have questioned why Satan seems to be the most charismatic character in this poem. Paradise Lost by John Milton used to be considered the greatest poem ever written in English. Appears about 60, 70 years after Shakespeare dies. John Milton, not only known as a poet, but also involved in the politics of rebellion when the King of England was actually beaten in a war, in a civil war, executed. And then the victor took over the country, Oliver Cromwell, as people who study history would know. And Milton was the Latin secretary for Oliver Cromwell. So Milton was in favor of the rebellion against the king, and he was even in favor of the execution of the king, which is a pretty serious position to take politically, especially after the son of the king returned in 1660. So Paradise Lost is the story of the fall of Adam and Eve, but the character Satan, of course, makes an appearance as a figure who persuades Eve to eat the apple, and then therefore they lose paradise lost. But it's curious that he's such an attractive character. If you read the poem, the things he says make kind of sense. Why is this? His dialogue with himself is almost touching. It's almost moving, or maybe it is moving, depends. Take a look. So there's a lot of puzzles around this. People say, well, it's politics, because, Satan is after all, he's a rebel, right, against an absolutist king. It could be that, take your pick, maybe this is the time in literature when evil characters were looked at from both sides. So anyway, there's a lot of possibilities. So let's take a look at the text and see what makes Satan sound so good. Okay, so let me just share the screen here, guys, and we'll take a look. So this is a figure. This is an image from actually around the time the book was published, and this is Satan that you can barely see on the bottom because I've kind of played around with the text a little bit. This is Satan prodding the other angels who have also fallen with him. So the backstory is that Satan and 1/3 of all the angels have rebelled against God. They were thrown over the side of heaven. The walls of heaven are made of crystal. And they're thrown over and they fall for 9 days and 9 nights. Imagine. And Milton's imagination was incredible, especially considering he was blind, or maybe because he was blind. So I've highlighted the most amazing line that I think out of Satan's first speech. He's rousing the fallen angels who are soon to be demons. He's still Lucifer. He will be known as Satan. And he kind of appeals to them in almost a kind of a pep talk that you might see in a Lord of the Rings, a Gladiator, one of these movies where a military figure, a fighter, rouses his troops. And it's not an accident, it's not a coincidence that there's military metaphors. But rather than this side of Paradise Lost, which is important and interesting, I want to talk about why his speech sounds so good. So let's take a look here at a little bit of Paradise Lost. So this is Satan speaking, and he says, "Is this the region, this the soil, the clime, said then the lost archangel, this the seat that we must change for heaven, this mournful gloom for that celestial light?" So remember, they're in this place that's going to be called hell, and among the other torments, there's fire, they're shackled with chains to the bottom of this pit. They're physically hurting for the first time in their existence. They've fallen. But it's the darkness. It's being deprived of light, and light has so many meanings in Paradise Lost. Especially now, we're getting around to the beginning of the Enlightenment, where light also has a metaphorical equivalence with knowledge and understanding and realization of new things. So the loss of light is maybe the most powerful of the punishments. So that's why he says, kind of conceding to them, look, we've exchanged our celestial light for this mournful gloom. Be it so. In other words, okay, that's the way it is. It is what it is, right? Be it so, since he who now is sovereign can dispose and bid what shall be right. Farthest from heaven, from him is best, whom reason hath equaled, force hath made supreme above his equals. So this is the first big claim of Satan. Basically, I'm as smart as him, but I'm not as strong as him. So, you can think about why it is that Satan is talking like this. But let's keep going. Farewell, happy fields where joy forever dwells. Hail horrors, hail infernal world, right? So the word infernal, of course, means hell, right? Inferno. But it also comes from the Italian word for oven. And thou profoundest hell, receive thy new possessor, one who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. So this is a line that when I've talked about this line with students, they like this line. They say, yes, it's your mind kind of determines how you're going to interpret things. Bad situations can be made better by the way you think about them. Or conversely, you're in a good situation, you can really ruin it by having a very negative attitude. So this is what Satan says. And here's my question for you. What's going on here? Why does Satan seem to make sense? I'm going to give you three choices. You can even pause the video and think about it. Number one is, he's just deluded. He's just talking, blabbing, the father of lies, one of his many nicknames. And that's the situation. Here's another possibility. Some historians and critics have said this is the beginning of individualism as a value in early modern Western culture. And this is a form of individualism, a strange form, but it's even a character like Satan, who is this, celestial character, or let's say the supernatural character, or as they used to say, superluminary, something like that, beyond the earth, has an inside. He has some thoughts, right? So you think about whether other figures like Satan have inside thoughts, internal thoughts, right? Third possibility is maybe there's a religious reason for this, a theological reason. You can't condemn a person, say sentence a person to jail, to death, to any kind of punishment, unless they intended to do the bad thing they did, right? They have to intend it. Because if they are insane or children or, did it by accident, it's not the same thing. And so Satan has to have his own thoughts in order to be guilty of what he does. And so this is an example of the independent thinking of Satan, right? Even saying wise things. So which one is it? Number one, he's just messed up and a liar and he'll say whatever. Number two, this is the beginning of the early modern Western, let's say, principle of individualism, inner thoughts. Or number three, theologically, he must have his own thoughts in order for God to have the right to punish him. And there's a lot of other things around this period of history and about law and justice. This is a century when law and justice are starting to be established in a more consistent way. And so this all kind of makes sense in that context. But let's see. What matter where, if I be still the same, and what I should be all but less than he whom thunder hath made greater. So again, going back to the original bragging, I'm equal to him in every way. It's only he only happens to have better weapons than me. Only thunder has made him greater, right? Here at least we shall be free. The Almighty hath not built here for his envy, will not drive us hence, right? How much worse can it get? He's not going to kick us out of here. You can't get worse than this. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice, to reign is worth ambition, though in hell. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So think again about why, first of all, this seems to make sense in some ways. It's rousing. He's encouraging his troops to rise up, get up off the floor, stand up straight, make the best of a bad situation. Why is that? Why does it sound so good? Or does it sound good to you? I'm so curious what you think. A couple of you want to comment on this. Let's compare the thesis of Satan having internal thoughts with the Satan that shows up in the King James Bible. Let's compare it to the King James Bible, because this is related and draws from the Bible. So let's take a look at, this is in the original typography. I don't know if you like typography. I love different types of fonts and things. This is called, I think it's called black letter or something like that. 1619, the King James Bible. So it says, let's take a look at the character of the serpent. Now the serpent was, what's that? More subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he had unto the woman, he said unto the woman, yeah, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? He's asking the woman, rhetorically, because he knows what the rules are. Did God say you're not supposed to eat that tree? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, we shall not eat. Is that what it says? Shall not eat of it, neither shall we touch it. Yes, ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eateth thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And then the woman ate, and they were doomed forever to mortality and all kinds of punishments. So the original sin, depending on which theology that you ascribe to, there's many Christian theologies. So here, the devil is, the serpent is the devil, which is not the same in Paradise Lost. You'll see that the serpent is an innocent creature, and the devil creeps into the serpent. Okay, that's different. If I'm wrong, guys, I'm not like a huge Bible expert, but let me do my thing over here, and then you guys can correct me if necessary. So first of all, the serpent is the devil, right? Because he's the most subtle of the creatures. So he's by nature subtle and by nature deceiving, right? And then he lies. He says, you won't die, which they will. They will become mortal when they eat the apple. And then he says, you're going to be like gods, So he's very familiar sounding Satan, right? He's a deceiver. He's a liar, and he's saying to them, like a con man. He's like, if you eat this, you're going to be equal to God, right? But there's nothing internal going on in the mind of Satan here. He's just through and through evil. Even the beast that they've chosen in the Bible is the serpent, as if there was nothing more to that creature than his very nature of being slithery, twisty, deceptive, right? And so that's the difference between the John Milton, where you have a very rich character, almost a Shakespearean character. And some people say maybe this is because this was written right after Shakespeare, right? Shakespeare had just died, and I think 1609 was it, and then Milton was born around that time, and could be that all those tragedies, Hamlet and stuff, all that internal dialogue had an impact. But really amazing how in Milton the devil has an internal dialogue. Now, it's not a coincidence that this is in contrast with King James Bible. King James Bible is just another Bible. Let's keep in mind that the king who Cromwell, whose execution Cromwell oversaw, was Charles II, Charles I, who Milton thought should be killed, as I said at the beginning, was the son of King James. So the King James Bible is not a kind of objective, let's say, document, like a document without ideology. It has a certain theological point of view, see. And there's a reason why the rebel creature, the creature who suggests evil, right, has no internal, um, dialogue, no internal integrity. Whereas in the Milton version of the Bible, Satan certainly does. And there's many, many other things, amazing things that Satan does in the Bible that are just stunning to me. I mean, I'm not going to go over this now, but I may do another video on it. But when he then sees the couple, he sees Adam and Eve for the first time. So it's a kind of a retrospect. He sees the couple for the first time. Instead of saying, aha, here they are, now I'm going to trick them, he goes, oh my God, I just can't believe I have to do this. I just cannot believe this. They are so beautiful. I can almost love them, he says. I mean, guys, incredible, incredible. I mean, when I read Paradise Lost, even though kind of falling out of love with it a little bit, I'm going and getting into other things these days. But when I go back and think about it, and think about this extraordinary figure of Satan, I'm always stunned by these moments, these incredible moments. So anyway, that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You got something out of it, maybe a different point of view, maybe something to think about. Just having fun here, writing, talking about literature that I love, and or maybe just, sharing with you some of the insights I've had with my students over the years. So yeah, that's about it, guys. So take care, and hope you liked it.